Tim, it's great to see you again.
Thanks.
I can't remember the last time I saw you, actually. Can you remember?
It was a while ago,
a
actually.
couple of years, maybe?
Probably.
Yeah.
Less than, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember when you were on the leadership program, I was working for CARE at the time. I remember seeing you around the building with your fellow graduates. Was it a nice group that year?
It was. And nice group, harmonized, and some different thoughts and views as well. Particularly what was going on in our country was Brexit was happening.
Yes.
It's quite intense debate as well, particularly upon our faith, Yeah. I can't forget that. It was the best moment I can think of it. Best team as well.
And so then you moved on, and you're up in Manchester campaigning at the moment in the local elections. And what we want to talk about today, though, is we want to go back to at the beginning of your life and your story. So, when did you first come to the United Kingdom?
It was in 2008, and I didn't speak any English. As we can have this conversation in English. I'm glad. I know you cannot speak Korean. Yeah, but that was when I first came. I don't know what made me so pursued to come to the United Kingdom, but if I may, it's one of the best country, and also past 13 years of my life, you can imagine who I am today, who I become today. I do discover this, who I am myself, what I love, care and standing for. And particularly, it's beautiful on Sunday, every family, they can attend church fully. In North Korea, no. Everything has to be underground, under the blanket, and all underground Christians for over 70 years. It's just awful.
So you're from North Korea, that's where you were born. What was life like for you growing up in North Korea?
It's a beautiful country. The map shows actually quite similar as United Kingdom, and it's beyond that side, over 5,000 miles from here. It's a beautiful country, and my both parents were high school teachers, math and history, and I grew up surrounded by love, and like normal kids, go to nursery. And until that point, I didn't realize what kind of system I was born. But it was all of a sudden happening after my father escaped to China. And then there was an automatic son of betrayal attack was following me. With that attack, it's very difficult life in North Korea. It's like a apartheid system in South Africa. So once I have that, then this will follow to my children and my grandchildren. It means you are the most discriminated class in the society, and in food, healthcare, and job opportunities. They not even allowed me to join the army.
And how old were you when your dad escaped to China?
It was 9.
You were 9. What? And do you remember how you felt?
You have that feeling. Normally, those days there were no mobile phones or the technology, but playing outside with friends and came home, and all of a sudden you're feeling why I feel so cold in this room. Usually, where you're having meal with your mom and dad and family and talk about all these things. That memory I felt, it was all gone all of a sudden, and I discovered a small note, and which they were left by train, and I ran to the train station, and train was gone, and sat down at railway and was in tears. It was kind of just upside down life was coming all of a sudden. So this was reminding me also when I recently supported helping a Ukrainian family to evacuate to come to the UK. When I first saw this Ukrainian family, they had only one backpack, and everything was destroyed and bombed by Putin's this war. And this was completely reminding me of my time, what kind of upside down life I had in North Korea. So that's why I stand for refugees as well, because of my own experience where I had gone through it. So the reality was coming after my parents left. and there were lots of homeless children at that time because of the economic situation in North Korea. While when communist countries collapsed, China and Vietnam opened the door, economic doors, but North Korea closed it. So it went into this most horrific and terrible isolation of this country itself, and starved over 3.5 million people during that period in the 1990s. Many homeless kids, and I became inevitably also homeless person, lived on the streets. Yeah, perhaps that is today why when I'm standing for this politics, particularly I support for those vulnerable children and also children who grow up with single parents who don't know much about their love, because love is meant to come from both sides of parents, father and mother.
And so your dad had escaped. You've got living with your mum, and then you end up on the streets.
My mother also left
Okay.
alongside soon. Yeah.
So living homeless in North Korea.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what that would be like here. And then you add in everything you've just said about North Korea. It closed its borders. There's huge famine and food shortages and hunger. What was it like living as a child on the streets?
You don't have hope, first thing. I couldn't go to school, you can imagine. And I loved to study, which I used to do with my friends on drawing things on the floor. But it was a daily survival. You sleep and pick up the food on the floor. Sometimes you can eat, sometimes you can't. The weather is freezing wintertime in North Korea. And the most difficult part was like a special time. Of course, North Korea doesn't have Christmas. They don't allow people to celebrate Christmas. But like New Year, birthday time, I have terrible memory with my birthday, which I still don't celebrate. But it was the hardest point. Every New Year time comes, miss my parents, and also when I see other children go to school holding school bags, I had to just watch them from a distance, and that was a hard part. And also some friends who homeless friends who we were like brothers and sisters. Some of them were died on the streets, but there was many people died on the streets. Every morning when you wake up, you can see dead bodies actually that time at the railway station or on the streets, on the bridges. So it was my sleeping places as well, like where I lived like that few years until I went back to my grandmother's house when I was grown up and was able to helping her to do farming. And she taught me how to grow food in allotment. So I love to grow vegetables.
You still do that?
In my garden, actually, I do
Fantastic. These transferable skills, right?
Yeah.
So you're living with your grandmother, growing your own food. She taught you how to do that. What happened next? Because there were a number of escapes, and you also ended up in prison as well.
I did. So I still hoped, because of my brainwashed education in North Korea, I thought Kim family was like a god, That's where you grew up, I always bow to the statues and say thanks to them, even for eating, having presents, gift from them. It was from the age to you brainwash, you don't realize it was normal life in that way of part. So yet I hope the Kim family would forgive me, because although my father betrayed, so I was hoping to get a normal job and life on. But when I went to military office, they said that you can't join the army because your father escaped. And then they told me to go to coal mine. And most of them died there, or by accidents become disabled. So my last hope was broke that moment, and I said, okay, I'm gonna leave this country. There's no hope in this country. They didn't even offer me an ID card in North Korea. That's how I escaped to China, and I made it total twice escape.
And how did you get there? You crossed the river?
That's right. You cross the border to China. It's the river, Tumen River. You have to swim, or sometimes it's narrow. You just walk But a military guard, obviously, there, it can be 50-50. If they call, they can shoot you to kill, you know. Or if you're lucky, you succeed in crossing the border.
And you were successful.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Did you swim or did you walk?
I walked. It was a little area I knew because I grew up on the border area, you know. Some of the parts we were familiar with. That's how I first went to China. But first part, one of the shocking part in China I experienced was seeing a Christian missionary. So this guy, I don't know why he came, but he came and to offer me a place to stay, you know. And then he said that we will help you to get out from China because China is not safe because they arrest you and send you back to North Korea. Then you are end up in punishment. But particularly if you are arrested during your church service, that is blow up. You end up in prison camp. Whole life is North Korea is very, very against Christians, particularly. I don't know why. There is a huge spiritual battle in this land, very dark.